In the theater, he held me and recited lines of I love you, yet turned around and used my money to take his mistress to the opera. Raindrops were like ice-tipped silver needles, pricking Camilla's bare ankles. She stood in front of the office building on Autobar Street, clutching a still-warm insulated food container. Her wool cardigan, soaked through with rain, clung to her back, mingling with the aroma of pea soup. She'd simmered for 4 hours, following Lars' favorite childhood recipe. She even added half a spoon less salt than usual, just because he'd mentioned, my taste has been lighter lately the week before. The lights on the 7th floor blazed harshly. She was about to reach for the elevator button when a familiar tie flickered behind the frosted glass door. It was the cashmere tie she'd given him for his birthday last year, now coiled around Anna's fingers. The Danish woman's magenta lipstick was smudged on Lars' jaw, like a blood-stained scar. And the Chanel No. 5 dangling from Anna's wrist. It was the very perfume Lars had claimed, the limited edition is too expensive, we'll get it next year, yet had secretly gifted to his mistress. The insulated container clattered to the marble floor. Pea soup splattered across her suede ankle boots, and onto Lars' freshly polished leather shoes. Camilla, let me explain. When Lars grabbed her wrist, she caught a bizarre mix of Anna's perfume and the scent of her own soup. Even more piercing, though, was the flyer peeking out of Anna's pocket. Emotional theater, customized real-life scripts identical to the crumpled one in her own pocket. She fled into the rain, crazed. Puddles on Groban Street soaked her toes, and the flyer in her pocket grew soft with water, yet its address remained clear. By the time she burst into the theater, soaked to the bone, a punk in a leather jacket chewed gum and pointed at the price list. 600 shillings for the broken marriage theme takes as little as 4 hours. She slapped the damp shillings on the counter, unaware that Anna had followed her in. Anna smiled at the cashier. I'll take the loving mistress package, and I want Marco to act in it. The musty smell in the side hall made her sneeze. From the shadows emerged a man with a cigarette between his fingers. The strap of his cheap plastic watch scraped against her wrist. It was Marco. But when he pressed her against the wall, she suddenly noticed the gray thread stitching the second button of his shirt, identical to the thread lining her coat. And the corner of the yellow gingham shirt peeking out from his collar. It had the tiny snag she'd accidentally made while mending it the week before, the very shirt she'd lost in the laundry, the one Lars had said, it's gone, let's just buy a new one. Camilla's nails dug into Marco's palm. The stench of tobacco mixed with bleach filled her nostrils, eerily similar to the cologne Lars sprayed every time he lied. Your husband, Marco drawled in his Italian accent, his thumb brushing the faint ring mark on her ring finger. Do you remember how you ended up in the hospital with an allergy after hand-washing his silk ties for him? That sentence was like a needle, piercing her forced composure. 3 years earlier, she'd avoided using the washing machine to clean Lars' ties, only to break out in a full-body rash from the detergent. Lars had stayed in the hospital for just 10 minutes before saying, my Danish client's still waiting. The week before, he complained that the dry cleaner had wrinkled his ties, yet never once mentioned her allergy. He praised Anna's coffee-making skills this morning. Marco's shoe tapped against her scuffed boot. Camilla then noticed his heel was badly worn, its sole caked with mud from the banks of the Danube, unlike Lars' soles, which were always spotless, as if freshly polished. But you brewed him Blue Mountain coffee at home for 7 years, and he still doesn't know where the sugar jar is. Tears splattered onto Marco's fake bow tie. She suddenly recalled how she'd added half a spoon less sugar to his coffee that morning, just because he said, I'm trying to cut back on sugar the night before. But she'd seen Anna's coffee in Lars' office. The sugar jar sat right by Anna's hand, so full it was almost overflowing. The click of high heels echoed down the corridor. Marco released her instantly, vanishing through a back door. Camilla felt the melted mint candy in her pocket. It was the brand Lars always sucked on during meetings. She packed him a whole box that morning, and now it stuck to her palm, its wrapper crumpled like the forever promises he'd made. A hostess in a studded jacket nudged her arm, still chewing gum. How B-san is up the stairs, the elevator's broken. In the stairwell, where mustiness mixed with cheap air freshener, she twisted her ankle on the 37th step. Leaning against the wall to catch her breath, she heard shouting from below. It was Lars' voice, yelling at Anna, why did you follow me to the theater? If Camilla finds out, watch your step. A hand with prominent knuckles reached out from the shadows. The plastic watch strap brushed her wrist again. It was Marco. A faint white powder dotted the back of his neck. Drawing closer, Camilla realized it was burn ointment. There was a fresh burn there, its edges red and swollen, like a mark from a hot water bottle. I was moving a hot water bottle for a patient in nursing class, Marco said, as if reading her thoughts, his ears turning as red as boiled cherries. The wallpaper in Hall B3 was peeling, leaving gaps shaped like hearts. When the ceiling light flickered on, Camilla saw specks of dust caught in the fine lines under Marco's eyelashes, same dust as on her coat, picked up in that morning's rain. Your husband came home at 2 a.m. last Thursday. Marco suddenly grabbed her wrist and pinned her to the wall. Her head hit the light switch. Did he smell the burnt fabric from the third shirt you ruined with the iron? Camilla froze. That night, Lars had indeed complained that the iron's noise kept him awake, yet hadn't noticed the blister the steam had left on her hand. She'd secretly dabbed toothpaste on it. When the blister burst the next day, she'd wrapped her hand in a band-aid just to make coffee. He praised Anna's meeting notes this morning. Marco's thumb brushed the old scar on her hand, but the Copenhagen dialect notes you compiled for him had been moldering in a drawer for 3 years. The rumble of a tram on the tracks outside drifted in. Camilla remembered how Lars had said during their honeymoon, Copenhagen dialect is like cookies softened by seawater. She'd secretly signed up for a 6-month language class, filling her notes with phonetic annotations. But Lars had flipped through just one page before saying, "It's useless, clients all speak English." Now that notebook still lay at the bottom of her desk, its cover stained with coffee spilled by Lars, who'd never bothered to wipe it off. The Blue Mountain Dew brew is always too weak for him. Marco suddenly leaned in. She caught a whiff of bleach from his collar, mixed with the faint aroma of pea soup the soup she'd splattered on his shirt earlier. But really, it's just that Anna only uses half a packet of sugar. He's long since gotten used to that. Tears mixed with rain slid down her neck. Camilla grabbed the frayed lapel of his suit, and suddenly noticed the gray thread stitching its second button, exactly the same thread lining her coat. It was leftover yarn from her mother's knitting, which she'd sewn into her coat as a memento. The shirt she'd lost in the laundry the week before. She'd mended it with this very thread. This thread. Marco stepped back abruptly, pulling a crumpled tissue from his pocket. "You should change into dry clothes." He nodded toward a staff room behind a fire cabinet. "I have a spare shirt there." The staff room door creaked open. Camilla's eyes fell on a yellow gingham shirt hanging from a coat rack and was embroidered on its collar, and there was the tiny snag she'd made. It was the shirt she'd lost. Tucked in its pocket was a scrap of paper, in Lars' handwriting. "Anna, this shirt looks nice on you. I'll tell Camilla it's gone." Her fingers trembled as she touched the snag, the one she'd thrown over while mending it. So Lars hadn't lost the shirt. He'd given it to Anna, and made Marco wear it underneath. The corner peeking out of Marco's collar earlier. It had been this very shirt. "Shall we continue?" Marco's knuckles, dotted with light brown coffee stains same as the stains on Lars' desk, tapped the door. Camilla tightened her grip on the hem of her wet sweater, then asked suddenly, "You and Anna, you've known each other for a while, haven't you?" Marco fell silent. From afar came the melody of the Blue Danube from a music box, the same music box she and Lars had bought on their honeymoon. It still sat in their living room, though it had long since stopped playing. "Lars hired me to play the loving husband," Marco whispered, his voice barely audible. "Anna's mistress package, he arranged that too." Nausea surged in Camilla's stomach, the smell of pea soup turning sickly. She remembered how Anna had smiled at the cashier outside the theater earlier. So this whole thing had been Lars doing. He'd not only betrayed her, but hired actors to stage this charade. Even her shirt had become a prop. "Time's up. You'll need to pay another 300 shillings for an extension." Marco lit up his digital watch. The plastic screen read 19:30, exactly the same time as Lars' watch. Lars' watch was the birthday gift she'd given him. Marco's was a cheap knockoff, its strap nearly broken. Camilla felt for the last 3 damp banknotes in her pocket. As she handed them over, Marco frowned suddenly. "Your hand's bleeding." She looked down. She'd scraped her palm on a splinter from the stair railing when she'd twisted her ankle. Blood seeped into the banknote's creases, resembling the ruby on her wedding ring, the ring Lars had claimed it will never fade, yet which had worn a faint groove into her finger. When the rain stopped, Camilla stepped out of the theater. Streetlights glinted on puddles, dazzling her eyes. The divorce lawyer's business card in her bag had grown soft with water, yet she suddenly remembered Anna's words. "Marco took me to the opera, using the 600 shillings you paid." So the money she'd spent had become funds for her husband's date with his mistress. Evening wind off the Danube lifted her skirt. She stared at the fallen leaves floating on the river's surface, and suddenly recalled Lars' words. "A wedding ring is a promise that never sinks." She slipped the ring off its metal, swollen from rainwater, scraped her finger. The moment it plummeted into the river, She heard Lars complain from that morning, the soup's too salty. Yet for 7 years, he always praised her pea soup as perfect. The elevator mirror in her apartment reflected her pale face. She used her key to scratch Lars' pressed jazz record, a limited edition she'd waited in line for 3 hours to buy for his birthday last year. The sound of the vinyl cracking was like the crease in her palm. Lars burst in, snatching the broken record. His Danish accent sharpened. Have you lost your mind? Do you know how much this cost? Sign it. Camilla slammed the divorce papers on the dining table. Soot stains blurred the ink stains from the insulated container earlier. Or tomorrow, Anna's promotion application will end up in the HR trash can. Lars' tie hung loose around his neck. The magenta lipstick smudge on his jaw was still visible. Is this because you wasted money on fake affection? He picked up the papers, sneering. How was Marco's acting? I've heard him 3 times. He always gets clients to sign contracts. Camilla's gaze fixed on his pinky finger. Smooth, no scars. Earlier, Lars had claimed, I cut myself while slicing salmon, and made her wrap it in layers of band-aids. Now she realized, even his injury had been an act. At least Marco remembers I'm allergic to laundry detergent. She pulled out the shirt from the bottom of the wardrobe, its cuff still stained with coffee from 3 years ago. You don't even know I wear a size M, yet you can rattle off Anna's size S without thinking. Lars grabbed his car keys and slammed the door. The roar of his Mercedes engine outside sounded like thunder. Camilla opened the fridge. Danish truffles in the freezer had grown green mold. Lars had brought them home from a Danish client the week before, saying, we'll save them for when Anna comes over, yet had forgotten they were her favorite. She tossed the truffles in the trash, then noticed a note stuck to the fridge door. She'd written, buy Blue Mountain coffee tomorrow. Next to it, Lars had drawn a cross and scrawled, Anna says instant is more convenient. When sunlight filtered through the blinds, Camilla was ironing her last shirt, the one her mother had left her, with a sunflower embroidered on its cuff. In the steam, she visualized Marco's trembling eyelashes when he said, he never loved you. She suddenly remembered her mother's words, a woman should plant her own field of flowers. A for sale sign hung in the flower shop window. Dutch tulips, freshly shipped, glistened with water droplets. The landlady counted out shillings, her reading glasses slipping to the tip of her nose. Business is bad in this area. It's been empty for 3 years, ever since the last flower shop closed. I know. Camilla smoothed the wrinkles in her apron. Her fingers brushed the shop window, and she suddenly felt a faint engraving letters spelling Rosie, worn faint with time. She remembered the photo of Marco's mother outside Rosie's flower shop. So this was the very shop Marco's mother had once owned. You're really going to buy it? The landlady handed her the keys. The previous owner's daughter said after her mother had a stroke, no one took care of the shop anymore. Camilla took the keys. Behind the counter, she spotted a gardening book. Its cover bore a familiar signature, hers from 7 years ago. Back then, she wanted to grow sunflowers with Lars, so she'd secretly borrowed the book from the city library. She'd never returned it, and never imagined she'd find it here. Tucked inside was a photo, a young Maria holding a little boy in overalls. Marco. The shop was in the background, lined with sunflowers. Dusk brought a light rain. Camilla trimmed the tulip stems. The scissors made a crisp snip sound. The bell above the door jingled as it opened. She looked up to see Marco pushing a wheelchair. Maria sat in it, reaching out to catch raindrops, her smile like a wilted flower suddenly blooming. Marco had replaced his plastic watch with a medical digital one. Its strap still smelled of disinfectant. When he bent down to fasten Maria's scarf, Camilla saw the burn on the back of his neck had scabbed over exactly like the hot water bottle burn scar, described in her nursing textbook. Closing up soon. Marco's voice was hoarse. He clutched a nursing school textbook, Marco Rosie written on the title page. Your mother. Camilla plucked a white daisy and held it out to Maria. The old woman's hands were as gnarled as tree bark, yet she gripped the stem tightly, pressing it to her nose for a deep sniff. Stroke complications. Marco tucked the flower behind his mother's ear. She just learned to say thank you last week. Maria suddenly grabbed Camilla's hand. Her palm was rough as sandpaper, yet surprisingly warm, just like her mother's had been when she was alive. The rain picked up. Marco's shirt collar grew damp. Camilla noticed a lopsided text stitched inside, reading Marco, or he'd clearly sewn it himself. How did you know about this shop? She asked casually, though her fingers lingered on the rosy engraving under the counter. Marco's ears turned red. I used to help my mom mind the shop when I was little. After she got sick, it closed down. He kicked an empty flower pot. A few sunflower seeds still lingered inside. My mom loved growing sunflowers. She said they looked like the sun. Camilla thought of the shirt she earned, the sunflower embroidered on its cuff. Will you be back tomorrow? She asked, though her eyes caught the glow of Marco's medical watch. 17:30 rehabilitation session, the same time as the digital watch she'd seen in the theater, just a different watch. I'll come by a bouquet when the tulips arrive on Wednesday, Marco said as he wheeled Maria toward the door. The rain blurred their figures. Camilla tightened her grip on the scissors, then noticed the hole in Maria's woolen sock, revealing a twisted toe just like her mother's toe had been after her stroke, stiff from lack of movement. As the glass door closed, she glimpsed a black Mercedes parked around the corner. Its windshield wipers swished back and forth, as if wiping away something. Lars' face was indistinct behind the tinted glass, yet she could see him clutching a photo Marco backstage at the theater, sewing an into his shirt collar. It was the same yellow gingham shirt she'd lost. The bell above the flower shop door jingled sharply as Lars pushed it open. The tip of his leather shoe knocked over a bucket by the door. Dirty water sloshed over Camilla's sheepskin slippers, the slippers her mother had left her, the ones Lars had said, "They're too old, throw them out," yet she kept wearing. Bankrupt, so now you're selling flowers? Lars grabbed a tulip from the display stand. The stem snapped between his fingers, purple petals fell onto the cash register. You can't even tell daffodils from hyacinths, and you think you can run a flower shop? Camilla clipped the last rose thorn, twirling the rose in her palm. Did you sign the divorce papers? She didn't look up, brushing water droplets off a petal. These roses had arrived that morning, and she'd specifically chosen ones with dewdrops, just as her mother had taught her, roses with dew last longer. Using my alimony to open this shop. Lars loosened his tie. The scent of his cologne mixed with tobacco filled the air. When he kicked over a wicker plant stand, Camilla noticed the third button was missing from his suit jacket. It was the button Anna loved to bite. She'd seen Anna gnawing on it once, grinning, in Lars' office. Those daffodils Anna's wearing. You gave them to her last week. Camilla pulled out a laminated purchase order from the drawer. Shipped from the Netherlands, 27 shillings per stem. Your secretary's expense report lists it clearly. She smiled suddenly. You remember Anna likes daffodils, yet you forgot I'm allergic to daffodil pollen. Lars' face flushed red. Danish curses slipped through his teeth. He grabbed a watering can and hurled it at the glass cabinet. Water dashed over the scattered petals, revealing the gardening book beneath the counter, the very one Camilla had borrowed 7 years ago. You still have this piece of junk. He reached for it, but Camilla pressed her hand down to stop him. These are the dialect notes you never bothered to read. Camilla opened the book, revealing a yellowed sheet of paper covered in her Copenhagen dialect annotations. You said they were useless, but you never knew I took a 2-hour tram to language class every week just to learn this for you. Lars suddenly grabbed her wrist. Green stains from daffodil mud smudged her cuff. Come home, his voice dropped an octave. I'll pretend you never came to this dump. I'll handle Anna. How? Camilla pulled her hand free. The tip of her scissors sliced through Lars' silk tie, a crack like the lightning they'd seen in Venice on their honeymoon. Pretend I lost it, like you did with my shirt. The sound of a wheelchair rolling over cobblestones came from outside. Marco pushed Maria to the window, the old woman clutching the baby's breath she'd just bought. Lars narrowed his eyes at Marco, who was tucking a blanket around Maria. Marco's white coat had a pansy stuck to its hem, the same pansy Camilla had tucked behind the cash register that morning. Another actor you hired? Lars sneered. How much are you paying him this time? More than the 600 shillings last time. He raised his voice deliberately. Marco's ears turned bright red, and he hurried to wheel Maria outside. He's not an actor. Camilla held up a rose petal, holding it in front of Lars. He's a nursing student. His mother had a stroke just like yours did. She paused, watching Lars' face pale. When your mother died last year, you were in Zurich with Anna at a watch exhibition. You didn't even go to her funeral. Lars' fingers froze mid-air. A photo fell from his suit pocket. It showed Marco selling cheap wine at a nightclub, dated the day before their divorce. He's a liar. Lars picked up the photo and slammed it on the cash register. Selling lousy wine at a club last week, and now he's pretending to be a nursing student. Camilla picked up the photo. The date in the corner was clear, and Marco still wore the plastic theater watch on his wrist. He sold wine to pay his tuition. She opened the nursing textbook Marco had left behind, revealing a tuition bill for 6,000 shillings. You paid him 300 shillings per acting gig. He'd have to do 20 gigs just to cover his fees. Meanwhile, you spent 8,000 shillings on a bed for Anna. Marco suddenly wheeled Maria back in, clutching at firmness. Forgot my mom's water bottle. When Maria saw Lars, she began babbling and waving her gnarled hands, as if trying to hit him. She says you look like the nurse at the Copenhagen hospital. Marco quickly held his mother's hands down, his voice trembling. The one who was mean to her during rehab last time. Lars' face turned purple. He turned to leave, but Camilla called out, "Your mother's things are still on the top shelf of the wardrobe. I kept them for you." She watched his back stiffen. "There's a note she wrote inside. She said she always wanted to try the pea soup you made. Too bad you never cooked for her, not even once." Lars slammed the door behind him. The roar of his Mercedes engine made the bell jingle. Maria suddenly calmed down, pointing at the sunflowers in the cooler. "Warm," she mumbled. "She wants the one with the ladybug on it." Marco smiled helplessly, pulling a mint candy from his pocket and offering it to Camilla. "I saw you had this in your pocket at the theater. Figured you liked them." Camilla took the candy. It was the same brand Lars always ate. "How did you know?" She peeled off the wrapper and popped it in her mouth. Sweetness spread across her tongue. "At the theater, you kept touching your pocket, like you were looking for something." Marco's fingers brushed the bottom corner of his nursing textbook. Pea soup was scrawled there, the ink blurred by water. "My mom loved pea soup too. Unfortunately, she can't chew solid food anymore." Camilla suddenly realized, the lines Marco had spoken at the theater about the allergy, the burn, the dialect notes hadn't been part of the script. They'd been his mother's story. "Your mom, she used to hand wash my dad's shirts every week," Marco said softly, opening the textbook to a photo of Maria in the flower shop when she was young. "After my dad cheated on her, she never made pea soup again." He looked up at Camilla, his eyes shining like the Danube at dawn. "You're luckier than her. At least you had the courage to leave." Maria suddenly grabbed both their hands, pressing them together. Camilla's fingertips touched Marco's palm. His hands were calloused from pushing the wheelchair. "Love," Maria mumbled, saliva dripping onto their joined hands. Marco pulled his hand back as if shocked. The nursing textbook fell to the floor, opening to a page titled Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Care Tips. In the margin, Marco had written, "Pea soup, mom's favorite. Helps with anxiety." Camilla picked up the book and found a receipt tucked inside from Vienna's flower market, dated the day before. It read, "Sunflower seeds 50 shillings. The tulips will arrive on Wednesday." Camilla handed the textbook back to Marco, her fingers brushing his wrist. "I'll save a bouquet with dewdrops for your mom." Marco's ears turned as red as sunflowers. As he wheeled Maria toward the door, Maria suddenly said, "Bye, bye." Camilla stood in the flower shop doorway, watching them disappear into the rain. She noticed the pansy stuck to the hem of Marco's white coat, still trembling slightly like a beating heart, warm enough to make her want to draw closer. The tulips arrived on Wednesday as scheduled. Camilla picked out a bouquet with dewdrops and placed it in the most prominent spot on the cash register. When Marco came, he held a small box. Inside was a single sunflower seed. "My mom wanted me to give this to you." Marco handed her the box, his ears still pink. "She said if you plant it outside the shop, it'll bloom next year." Maria sat in her wheelchair, clutching the baby's breath she bought earlier. Its petals were wilted, yet she held it tightly. "Water," she mumbled, pointing at the vase, gesturing for Camilla to add water. Camilla placed the baby's breath in a fresh vase, adding just the right amount of water and plant food, something she'd learned from the gardening book. Tucked inside were notes Marco had written, "Baby's breath likes moisture. Change water daily." "How's nursing school going?" Camilla asked, arranging the tulips. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed the intern badge on Marco's white coat. "Almost time for your internship, right? Starts in 2 weeks at Copenhagen Hospital." Marco's fingers traced the cover of his nursing textbook. "I'm moving my mom to a rehab center nearby, so it'll be easier to visit her." He paused, looking at Camilla. "This shop, do you plan to keep running it?" "Yeah," Camilla nodded, gesturing to the Camilla's garden sign in the window. "I want to grow sunflowers here too, just like your mom used to." Maria suddenly clapped her hands. "Good," she mumbled, pulling a silver bracelet from her pocket and holding it out to Camilla. Engraved on it was Rosie, the same as the shop's engraving. "It was my mom's dowry," Marco explained, his voice soft. "She said to give it to you, as a thank you, for taking care of the shop." Camilla took the bracelet. The cool metal pressed against her wrist, yet she felt a warm glow. She suddenly remembered her mother's words, "Good fate is like a sunflower, it always turns toward the sun." Rain began to fall again, gentle, washing the tulip petals brighter. Marco wheeled Maria toward the door, then turned back. I'll bring my mom next week to see if the sunflower seed has sprouted. Camilla nodded, watching their figures fade around the corner. She noticed Marco's medical watch light up. 1800 hours rehabilitation session. He always remembered his mother's rehab time, yet forgot to eat himself. She grabbed the insulated container of pea soup she'd made that morning and ran out the door. Raindrops fell on her face, cool, yet warmer than the day she brought soup to Lars. Marco pushed the wheelchair ahead. Maria's woolen sock still had a hole, yet it was clean, no trace of dust. Camilla hurried to catch up, calling out, "Wait!" Marco turned around, surprised to see her holding the insulated container. "I made pea soup." Camilla handed it to him. "It's soft enough for your mom to eat." Maria took the container, suddenly bursting into tears. Cloudy tears dripped onto the lid, like tiny pearls. Thank you," she said, hugging the container to her chest, as if it were a precious treasure. Marco's eyes glistened. He pulled a mint candy from his pocket and handed it to Camilla. "Here." Returning this. The wrapper was new, different from last time. Camilla took the candy, peeling it open and popping it in her mouth. Sweetness mingled with warmth. She watched Marco push Maria slowly away, the wheelchair splashing gently through puddles as if the world were cheering them on. Back at the flower shop, the bell jingled again. This time, it was a parrot calling, "No laugh. No laugh." Camilla smiled, walking over to the birdcage to add birdseed. She bought the parrot after the divorce. At first, it only knew how to say the words. Now it had learned to say "no laugh." She walked to the window, gazing at the rain outside. The rosy engraving on the glass was clearer now, washed by rain. She knelt down, touching the engraving, then her wrist where the silver bracelet lay. Suddenly, she felt it. Some things she'd lost would always come back, in different forms: her mother's love, her hope for life, and maybe someone who truly understood her. Half a can of Blue Mountain coffee remained in the fridge. She brewed a cup, adding half a spoon of sugar this time, for herself. It was perfect. The aroma of coffee filled the shop, mixing with the scent of tulips, just like her mother had described the smell of happiness. The rain outside gradually stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds, falling on the sunflower seed outside the shop. Camilla knew, next spring, sunflowers would bloom here, bright and warm like the sun. And she, too, would find her own new life among those sunflowers.